Welcome to the Advancing Entrepreneur. This show is all about surrounding yourself for success. Hear stories of building traction, gaining acceleration, and creating results from successful entrepreneurs who have surrounded themselves with other successful entrepreneurs. And now, here's your host, Annette Nightingale-James.
Hello, Advancing Entrepreneurs, and welcome back to another episode of the Advancing Entrepreneurs Show, where we get traction, acceleration, and results for your business. My name is Annette Nightingale-James, and we are right in the middle of one of our signature implementation series where we're talking about advancing your expertise, and we're already on part 3. Now, if you've missed parts 1 or 2, or you missed the interview that inspired this implementation series that was aired on Monday, go back, make sure that you are partaking of all the free training and all the resources that we are making available to you as you go through this series with us. Now, we want to make sure that you are also on iamadvancing.com and you are hitting up our community where we're going to be surrounding you with other advancing entrepreneurs. We're going to be getting you the support and feedback that you need to make your business a success. And today we're going to continue on with our expertise series because we talked to our friend Barb Sumler on Monday. That episode aired. Go back and check it out. And she made a comment that everyone is an expert at something. So I wanted to take the time to show you how you can uncover your expertise, grow your expertise, and then showcase and monetize that expertise in your business. So on Tuesday, we talked about how to uncover your expertise. And yesterday, it was about how to become an expert, how to really cultivate that expertise so that you go to that level that is recognized as the expert level. Today, we're going to be talking about how to showcase your expertise so that the world will also recognize you as the expert that you are becoming. And come back tomorrow because this is the best part. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about how you can monetize your expertise and turn that expertise into some money rather. So before we get much further down that pathway, let's talk about what we're going over today. How to showcase your expertise, how the world will know to look at you as the expert in your given field. So you've taken the time to uncover your expertise and you're working on cultivating it. You're reading books and going to conferences and all the great stuff that we talked about yesterday. How is the world going to know that you are an expert in the given field and subject matter that you have decided to study up on? Well, there are 2 main ways that we are going to cover today. And these, in my experience and in my business, are by far the best 2 ways for you to showcase your expertise to the world, especially when you're dealing with somebody that hasn't quite heard of you before or you haven't worked with before. These 2 ways are great ways for you to set yourself up as the expert from the get-go. So the first way is for you to write a book on the given area and subject matter that you are talking about. Now, I know that that sounds like this enormous, gigantic undertaking. Unless you've already written a book, then you know that it can actually be a lot easier than it sounds. Now, before we go any further down this pathway, I want to make it really clear that the type of book I'm talking about is the book that sets you up as an expert. It's the book that says, hey, I wrote a book on that. If you want to find out more about me, go to Amazon, type my name into the search bar and see what you find. These are books that are not necessarily gone through publishing houses and book tours, but are there rather to showcase that you know what you're talking about. So how do you write a book that will help you showcase your expertise? Again, it's not actually all that difficult. There's still a good amount of work that goes into it, but it is totally doable. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take a presentation that you already give, especially if it's a kind of a presentation of yours that you give regularly. Take that presentation, record yourself giving that presentation. So whether it's on video at the front of a room or you're giving it over a webinar, what you're going to want to take from that is the audio part of that presentation. You're going to want to have it transcribed. So you're going to be giving the presentation in your voice, and you're going to want to have a transcriptionist take it and put it into the paper version, right? The something that is written down, typewritten. I know that if you're watching this on the video, we actually have, some handwriting going on there, but there's a couple ways for you to do this. It's actually really simple. There are transcription services out there. VerbaLink is one of those. VerbaLink.com is one of the transcription series there, where you just literally upload your MP3 file and it takes it and types it out for you. And we'll even segregate if there's like multiple people, or if the audience asks a question, they'll know all that in the transcription. Another thing you can do is you can go on Elance or Odesk or Fiverr and just hire a person to go through and hand transcribe that for you. It just depends on which version works better for you. I've used both. I don't really have a preference. So just find, if you don't mind, using a service where I'm pretty sure they feed it through a series of machines versus having somebody do it for you, then just find what works best for you and go ahead and get that transcribed. After you get the transcription, you're just going to want to edit it. It's going to have all of yours. If it's truly a straight transcription, it's going to have the way that you're talking. So if I say, okay, you guys, or I say, welcome back, it's going to have all those kind of words in it that aren't necessary to have in a book. So you are going to have to take a run at editing it and just making sure that it sounds really put together, that you didn't jump ahead of yourself. If you forgot to mention something and you mention it a little bit later, that's easy to do in person, but it won't fit into a book format. So you're going to want to take that section out and move it back to the section that it belongs to. So just kind of clean it up and edit it and make it into a presentation that's written out and that everything is in the place that it belongs. Then you're going to self-publish it. So the debate on self-publishing is over. It really doesn't matter. Self-publishing is really high level these days. You can even have the USP code on the back of the book that will, scan it in a bookstore. You can put it up on Amazon. You can, have them published and bound. That makes it look no different from a book that comes from a bookstore than a book that you self-publish. So get over the idea that self-publishing is not as good and just self-publish the book so that you have that to stand on as your level of expertise. So the second way that you can showcase your expertise is by public speaking. Either have a book or public speak. If you could do both together, that's the best. But when people see you at the front of the room, they really give you a lot of credit. Make sure that you have a signature talk prepared. Just like you're going to have a book title, just like you have an area that you are an expert in, have a signature talk prepared and be ready to give it. When you hone that signature talk and you become really good at it, it makes you look like you are so on your game that nobody is going to question whether or not you're an expert in that field. You have the look, you have the talk, you have the book, you're going to look like you are the expert. You've taken the time, you put in the practice, you did everything that we talked about in part number 2 of advancing your expertise. So this is where you can really showcase it. Once you have that signature talk and a really good title to go along with it, you can seek out groups and offer to be the speaker to those groups. And then people will start to associate your name with your given talk. So if you wanted to be an expert, I don't even know, I'm just going to make something up right now. But if you wanted to be an expert on the subject of collecting pennies and you were, the person that went to different clubs and you gave the talk on, the 3 reasons why pennies before 1920 are better than, pennies after 1920, I don't even know, I'm making all of this up, then you are going to be associated as the person who knows that about pennies and that you are the expert in that field. So you can seek out groups and offer to be the speaker on your given level of expertise, your given area of expertise, and people will begin to recognize your level of accomplishment and your expertise in that area. So you can look for a couple different places for speaking engagements. Look to trade associations and look to networking groups. Those are two really great places because they're always looking for speakers. And if you come in and offer to give a talk specifically on a subject that pertains to something that is of interest to their members, then you are going to have a good shot of getting in there and giving your talk and become recognized as an expert in that field. The thing is that if you are good about speaking on a subject, the human brain kind of does something funky where it automatically believes that you know what you're talking about. So you could know just a bare minimum even about what what is more important about pre-1920 pennies than post-1920s. But if you cut up and you give a really great convincing talk and you are confident in the material, the brain says, this person knows what they're talking about. They must be really good. They must be an expert. So even if you're a little bit new in your area of expertise, if you haven't given that full-blown 10,000 hours of practice that we talked about in episode part 2 of this series, then you will still be perceived as somebody who's an expert in that field if you can give a good public speech about that area of expertise. So publishing the book and giving a really great talk about your level of expertise, your known area of expertise, really sets you up to be perceived as the expert in that area. And being perceived as the expert is important because you can be the best expert and know everything about a given area of topic, but if nobody knows it, then it's not for naught. So people need to view you as the expert in order to give you credit and in order for you to build that credibility as being an expert in that area. So writing a book and giving public speeches are the two best ways for you to showcase your expertise in any given area. So go ahead and tune in to part number 4, which is tomorrow, where we are going to be joining you, me and Nala here are going to be joining you for the last in this series where we're going to talk about how to make money on your expertise, how to monetize your expertise. Between now and then, I want you to head on over to IamAdvancing.com. Type expertise into the search bar, and you're going to be able to see the show notes page from this entire series on advancing your expertise that we are running this week, as well as join our community. Make sure you're hitting our Join Our Advancing Entrepreneur Community button while you're on the site so that we can get you in to the community of advancing entrepreneurs that are going to give you the feedback, the support, and the community that you need in order to move your business forward. All right, tune in tomorrow for part 4. I'll see you then. Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Advancing Entrepreneur. If you enjoyed it, leave us a rating and review. Not only will it make our day, you'll also be helping others find this show and advance their own careers. Once you're done, be sure to head on over to IamAdvancing.com and join our community to learn what it takes to be an advancing entrepreneur and surround yourself for success. Thanks again, and get ready to advance.